everyone, Pollywog here, and today I am going to teach you how to make oobleck. And if you've ever made oobleck with us before, you know that it's a Thrive favorite. If you've never made oobleck before, you're in store for a really fun science activity today. In your kit, you've got 2 cups of cornstarch, and then you're also going to need a bowl, just like I have, some sort of bowl that you can use to mix with, a spoon for mixing, and you're going to need a cup of water. Now you want an actual 1 cup measured out. So I did put mine in a cup, but it was 1 cup that I poured in, measured out, and I put it in a cup so it will be a little easier to pour it in. So what is oobleck? Oobleck is a non-Newtonian fluid. And a non-Newtonian fluid is a term that we use to categorize fluids that change viscosity. What does that big word mean? Well, viscosity is how easily something flows when it's under stress or under pressure. So we'll see that happen with our oobleck, because when we run our fingers through slowly, the oobleck will act like a liquid and it's going to seep through our fingers just like a liquid. That's why I'm using such a big bowl today. If we put our fingers in really fast or pull up really fast, that oobleck is actually going to act like a solid, and we'll be able to bend it or tear it or just like move it in half. It's going to be really interesting to see that difference from going from a liquid to a solid, from a solid to a liquid, and that's what makes oobleck so much fun. Now, if you want to, you can also add some food dye or some watercolors to your oobleck. I didn't include any in your kit today because you really don't need it. That's just for an added effect. We're going to go ahead and get started, so I'll tilt my camera down so you can see my hands working, and we'll get started on this awesome oobleck. Okay, so you can see I've already poured my cornstarch out of my bag and into my bowl. I've got my spoon ready and I've got my cup of water ready. Now I want to mention, when you add your water, you do not want to just pour it all in, and that's because sometimes you won't actually need the whole cup of water. I'm going to show you how we want the consistency to look, and by doing that, I'm just going to be adding a little bit of water at a time. So you can see I haven't added all of my water, and now I'm just going to start stirring my cornstarch and water mixture together. It is going to be a little bit hard to stir until it's the right consistency. So I can tell I don't have enough water. I'm going to pour some more in. Now, on the opposite side, we might even need a little bit more water. The 1 cup might be enough, it might not. Cornstarch and water mixed together make oobleck, but we need the right consistency. So it's usually a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 cups of cornstarch to about 1 cup of water. But sometimes we need a little bit more or a little bit less. So I just went ahead and added all the rest of mine because I can tell my cornstarch isn't even quite there yet. But this is part of the fun of oobleck, is that you're going to see this consistency getting real crazy here. So I can tell I need just a little bit more water, so I'm just trying to mix it together. I'm using my hands now because I was having a hard time with my spoon. I can see that the oobleck is starting to form the right consistency. You can see how it just ran through my fingers there. But now when I picked it up, it was more of a solid. Now that I'm slowing down and applying less pressure, it is forming more of that liquid. But I can tell that I don't have quite enough water. Okay, so I just ran and got a little bit more water, and I'm just going to pour a little bit more in at a time. Now, I know I'm not going to need this whole other cup of water, so I really want to be careful here because this is where I can accidentally add too much water. So I'm going to ditch my spoon because it's fun to use my hands anyways, and I'm just going to work with my hands to try and get this oobleck the way I want it to be. Now, when you're picking this up, you're going to feel the solid form to the liquid form. So I just tried to pick it up really fast. It's more like a solid. Now I'm slowing down and it turns to that liquid. So you can form different things with the oobleck, and then you can let it run through your fingers, which is really fun to do. You can just really play with this for hours and hours because it's so fun to touch and it's so fun to play with. And it's really easy to make. So you can make this with just cornstarch and water, which are two things that are often in your cabinet at home because cornstarch is something we use for baking and cooking. So it's a common product and really fairly inexpensive to purchase. It's also something that you can always request in your kits. So it's an extra science activity that you can ask for at any time. And you can see this Oobleck is super awesome. I can see it in liquid form and it feels so cool when it oozes through my fingers. And on the opposite side, when I try and pick it up really fast, you can see it's clunky. But then when I slow down, we see that non-Newtonian fluid happening, that viscosity changing, and that allows us to make it into a liquid. So this is a really fun and really amazing experiment. It's always so fun to play with Oobleck. It's something you can do over and over again and never get tired of. Just one of those really awesome things that we love to do here at Thrive. And you can see why as you play with it in your own hands. Now I will warn you that I did ditch my spoon to finish the mixing process, and that was mostly because the spoon was just making it really hard for me. You might find yourself in the same situation, just wanting to use your hands to do the mixing instead, and that's perfectly okay. Now, I'm going to show you what happens if you add a little bit too much water. So let me just get some of this Oobleck off. So if I add too much water, my Oobleck is going to be a lot runnier. So let me mix this together and show you. So if I do a little bit too much water, you can see that it's really milky in here. And it still is really cool to play with, but with a little bit too much water, what's going to happen is it's not going to form the solid quite the way we want it to look. So when I try picking it up, it's just going to be really runny. If I mix it all together, I might be able to save it a little bit. But if I add too much water, it's mostly just going to turn into a liquid. So you want to make sure that you don't add too much, because you can see that it's just really runny now and there's no way to pick this up like a solid. So you want to make sure that you add just the right amount of water. That's why I was telling you not to just dump in a whole cup. You wanted to do just a little bit at a time. And I really only needed a cup and about less than a quarter of a cup. So you want to have about a cup and a half on hand, but you won't necessarily need all of that water. You will end up using all of the cornstarch though. And you can see that even when it's a little liquidy, it is still fun to touch and to play with, but it's not going to give you that same experience of touching the solid and then turning it into a liquid. All right, everyone, that's it for me. I hope you have so much fun playing with your Oobleck, and let me know how it goes. You can post pictures on our current families page if you ask your parents to. You can also request these supplies in your kit anytime, just some cornstarch. So please feel free to do so. I hope you guys enjoy this mini lesson, and I'll see you for the next. See you later.